So much going on. I was very deeply rooted. So it took me a while to wrap up. I had a private practice. I was teaching.
Mhm.
I was doing community work. So I had to wrap up. So anyway, I get to Stanford. The timeline is in the op-ed. I get to Stanford, and I am just like, excited to get to work. And I won't ever forget. I have a memory like an elephant. So I really won't ever forget words or conversations. It's like it's
Mhm.
stored for me. And the hiring manager was kind of like, yeah, our Black students are thriving. They just need extra support. And when I got there, that was not the case. They were not thriving. And in fact, it became very quickly, I realized that there was a theme that the Black students were facing. It's not an inclusive place, let's call a spade a
Mhm.
spade. And for the people who thrive there, it is because of the Black Community Service Center, who has created an incubator for Black students, and certainly brown students. I mean, there's several different cultural centers that incubate the students of color
Mhm.
from the nature of Stanford, which is intended for wealthy white children.
Right.
And so, I get there, and there's a thing with students. Students aren't thriving; they feel excluded. I mean, so much horrendous stuff happening in the classroom, y'all. Like, you name it, it was happening in the classroom. And of course, they hear because, and then on top of this, Stanford had a problem retaining clinicians of color.
Right.
So it's been a while since there's been clinicians of color, but then apparently a lot of us got hired at one time. So the students are now back over the caps, like, oh my God, we finally got some help. And I was listening to the stories, like, okay, maybe this is a student problem. Nope. Because one thing about Black people, we're not a monolith, but for those of us, we are communal. And
Mhm.
a lot of the Black people at Stanford was calling me like, hey, just want to check on you. It felt very communal. So when I go in about Stanford, I'm not talking about Black Stanford. Let me be very clear about that. So they were like, how are you doing over at Caps? And I was just like, okay, what happened at Caps? Because everybody's checking on me. Soon I learned Black staff had gotten it the worst, because I want you to think about higher ed in terms of the way it's fractioned off. I'm pretty sure you're familiar. You have students
Mhm.
who
Mhm.
at Stanford really drive the revenue. They really
Right.
drive the program and the attention. And then you have the faculty, but faculty is really protected because there's a lot of white supremacy within faculty, tenure and all these things. And so they're very untouchable in a lot of ways. So it's the
Mhm.
staff who really get the short end of the stick, because the staff is not necessarily looked after by alumni. They're not faculty in that way. So I begin to see several issues with Black staff. And so, but because I was doing well, a lot of people are very shocked that I left Stanford, because I was doing very well at Stanford. I had advanced at Stanford. I was, you know, very well known and respected by the administration. But the nitty gritty of it, which I'm pretty sure we'll talk more about, was
Mhm.
exhausting. It was exhausting. And to learn, I was getting on all ends. So Black students are traumatized because of their experiences, and I'm having to treat Black staff. I eventually started and chaired the Black Coalition at Stanford. So I'm hearing the issues that Black staff are having, and this is cyclical. This wasn't new. This was just something that occurred, and people just dealt with it. The numbers are there. The numbers are in the op-ed, and then I was experiencing it as a person. So beyond